episode of the crossover with my co-host Ravi, man. So let's do this, man. First topic today. We got a lot of stuff to cram in here. Chris Paul has a few comments to say about the rookie referee, who happens to be a lady in this case, after the Clippers Cavs game this past Thursday and the TNT game. By the way, they got ripped hard, but you know that's a whole other story. LA. I would love to delve into that sometime in the near future. I got my thoughts on that. But anyhow, man, I mean, you guys got put the link down below. You guys can see what you had to say. I honestly thought this was much ado about nothing.
I totally agree. I think, I mean, high level, I think that they were inbounding the ball. And, you know, from what Chris Paul said, the Clippers usually inbound the ball pretty quickly. The ref made a comment about, you know, when he inbounded the ball, Chris Paul was like, you know, like, what do you mean? And he got teed up for saying that.
Right.
So, you know, after the game, he just had some comments and he said, you know, if she's going to be that sensitive, and I just asked her, you know, what do you mean by that? Maybe this is not the this is wrong job for her.
Right.
Now, I think you could apply that to a guy referee. I don't think it's a situation where he was saying, you know, a woman can referee or a woman can do the job. Right. He was just saying in this particular situation, if you can't handle it because it's part of the game, I mean, you can't be that sensitive or you know, over little comments like that.
So sensitive, the quote Kanye, sensitive Kanye type weak.
I tell you, if you try to interrupt this podcast, we're gonna have some problems. But yeah, I mean, I think this is something Adam Silver has to look at because everyone associated with the game, whether it be the players, the coaches, the fans, you know, the video guy, everyone is subject to criticism. Yeah. But it always seems like you can't say anything, and it's not even derogatory. You can't say anything remotely criticizing a referee whatsoever. And I think that's something they need to look at because it's you have issues like this that comes up, and I don't think it's a situation where he should have been fined at all.
I know what you're saying, but it will never happen because in this case, the league are so sensitive to the referees and the image it portrays when it comes to anyone getting critical. They don't want that narrative to start spreading. You know, Donahue I'm surprised actually that got capped as quick as it did.
Yeah.
But, you know, I mean, let's face it, that's always the issue the NBA has to deal with more so than any other league. You know, fraught with, you know, with collusion and corruption, and they don't want anyone to even go down that path when it comes to the referees. Now, as far as the point that he was making, listen, referees get criticized all the time. You know, that ain't nothing new. Be it male, female, dog, cat, whoever the referee happened to be, they take the heat all the time when it's all said and done. And listen, she's a young ref, like most young refs, their whistle's quick. That ain't nothing new. That ain't got nothing to do with gender. Because when you're a young ref, you want to show you who's boss. We know that happens all the time. We watch games for years. You can always tell the young bucks in this case that just got their first glass of milk.
Exactly, because they're trying to establish themselves. They're trying to make a name for themselves. Like, you know, so it's whereas the older guys are already established, they have a good read on certain players.
Rapport and stuff like that. They'll give some guys some leeway and stuff like that. Now, the other thing's playing into this as well too. That you know has been discussed over the week in this case. Yo, the Clippers have a rep, okay, and the Clippers bitch and moan about everything.
Well, I think they're leading the league right now.
They just saw the stat, 43 Ts. They got guys, they can play. I think DeAndre might be number one, I think, overall as individual. I mean, and Blake's not far behind, nor is Chris Paul. They squat and whine, and you know Matt Barnes got to be up in there. They squat and you can't forget your boy Matt Barnes. They squawk about everything. So that plays into it as well too. It's like, oh, here comes the Clippers. And I think that's where the rep starts playing into as well. Plus the fact you have a rookie referee, and the third thing is they were getting spanked on national television, and that means you're not in a great mood too. So
I mean, feelings were getting hurt Thursday night.
People catching feelings that night.
Feelings were getting hurt Thursday night.
Yes, yes, it was.
Yeah, you know. But I mean, any backlash? I saw a couple articles here and there talking about it. You know, let's not make this bigger than it is.
Really,
you know,
Violet Palmer's been refereeing for almost 20 years now.
Exactly.
It's refereeing the league. Heck, I didn't even know. I think she's like her second year maybe or something like that. So it's not like it's like, oh my gosh, like we see this dinosaur walking down the street. No, we've had women referees before. We'll survive. It's all right. It's gonna be okay, people. Relax a little bit.
It's all right. It's all right. Let's keep it moving. Like nothing to see here. Nothing to see here.
You know, take an old Shantae Moore song, guy. It's all right. It's all right. Don't worry about it. It's cool, man.
Shantae Moore.
I had to bring it out, man.
You young bucks go Google that.
Exactly. Old school R&B guy, 90s style. All right.
Since you can get your Google alerts up right now.
Exactly. So what we got next, man, on the docket, man? You step into take lead in the next topic.
Man, next up, we have an issue that Brian and I talked about a couple episodes back in terms of reformatting the playoff seeding.
Yes.
Now, last week, Adam Silver made some comments stating that he
dropped the bomb like Gap Man.
He dropped the bomb. He dropped the bomb like he did his Funkmaster Flex and dropped the bomb on them, Brian.
I went back Gap Man guy. He dropped the bomb on me, guy. I'm going 80s guy. Come on, man.
But Silver made some comments regarding him being open to reformatting the playoff seeding, and his initial thoughts were the top each division winner automatically makes the playoffs, and the remaining 8 teams will be picked just based on best record, regardless of conference. So I think it's very interesting. It'll create a lot of different matchups that we're from what we're used to seeing. Mm-hmm. How do you feel about that?
I think, just as we said before we got on the air, I think I'm not a big fan of changing up from a standpoint. I kind of like the East-West matchup situation from that standpoint.
Yeah.
I don't mind it as much as it keeps the division. I know everyone says, oh, division don't mean anything, but this kind of is a way that the divisions end up now meaning more now. Because now you have an automatic slot.
Yeah.
Right, by winning it. So I like that aspect, even though you still have some situations in this case where, I mean, it's not likely. I can't see a team that's going to be barely over 500 winning a division. Most likely your division winner is going to have a decent record. So
at least 600 or better.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. Well, around that area, because I mean, the Raptors won last year, won 47 games or so, 48 games or something. So they're near that, but they weren't playing 600 balls. So you can have scenarios like that, but I guess so they would be So this year that probably won't be the case, but I like the fact that divisions still have some meaning to it. I mentioned before, I like the one that I think is Bleacher Report, SB Nation had, where Tom Ziller, that had the idea of the regions and have them set up like a mountain, a Pacific, a East Coast, a South. I like that Midwest type of setup. The lakes, I think he referred to the Midwest. I like that concept. And I like the fact that, like, okay, because if you played it out today, you would get rid of the bottom tier of the East. So that means Miami wouldn't make the playoffs. Charlotte wouldn't make the playoffs. And
Brooklyn wouldn't make the playoffs.
And that means you would get New Orleans, Phoenix, and OKC.
Yeah.
And the next team would be probably, maybe, I think that would be it, right? Because you would get Milwaukee.
I think Sacramento's after that. I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, because you'll have
maybe.
Because you'll have 8 teams. 8 teams. One of those 3 teams would make the playoffs. So that would be 8. And then those 2 extra teams would be 10. Then you would take the 6 from the East. They're for sure above 500. That gives you 16. And there you go. There's your team. Milwaukee would be your last seed.
Yeah.
And that's cool. I think from that standpoint, you get all the people you want to see in the tournament, right?
You get everyone you want to see.
Right.
For me, I mean, I just like the fact that he's open to the concept. To me, that's the big thing moving forward.
True.
Whereas there's been a lot of things, I guess, under the Stern regime where he was pretty adamant. He wasn't open to changing. So I think what I like from Silver, is the fact that he's open to explore certain things. Which is refreshing, and I think it even goes back to this season, because I think last year the players were pushing for a longer All-Star break, and this year they have a whole week off.
Yeah. I mean, but the back-to-backs now become a little more atrocious now. So
exactly,
they got to sort that out. So
that's the trade-off. That's the trade-off there. You have a longer All-Star break.
I will reserve judgment on Mr. Silver till I see what happens when negotiations for a new deal comes about. Everyone's good right now. Everyone, he's giving away. He's like sugar daddy now. Everything's sweet right now. We'll see when things get tight, and then we're gonna find out. So we'll see.
It's been all good. I mean, I think the decisions he's had to make, it's all feel good decisions.
It feels
right?
good, yeah. Some of them are no brainers. Like it's like, oh, okay, we'll see. Because I think the first one we're gonna start finding out. Okay, we're gonna find out how progressive he is when it comes to the age limit, and that's gonna be very interesting to see how that plays out. Because he's pushing for that extra year.
Yeah,
and I don't even believe that there should be any extra year. I think
I agree with you on that. I don't think there should be an age limit at all. I think if a team wants to take the chance and draft a high school kid, hey, that's on the team to do.
Yeah, you can't try and legislate out what people want to do. Like if the Sixers want to flop, you can try all you want with draft trickery. If they want to tank, they're going to tank. Okay, so it's the same type of mindset. If a guy wants to take an 18-year-old, you tell me in this case here that Wiggins wasn't ready to play last year potentially?
Yeah.
Really? Come on, man. Like, come on, son. Anyways, man, let's wrap this up, man. On our last topic of the day. Give a shout out and, of course, a special respect to, as a Tar Heel fan, I grew up watching college basketball, and the team I got into pretty much immediately was the North Carolina Tar Heels. I grew up on those early 80s teams with one Sam Perkins and James Worthy, and a young fellow that you might have heard of named Michael Jordan. Which is strange to think in this case here how much, I'm so professionally sometimes anti-Jordan. But there's a time I used to root for Jordan before everyone else thought it was cool. so we wore 23 for the Tar Heel blue. For all these bandwagoners like Randy got on board, you hear a lot of people talk about gentlemen in the sport and stuff like that. But the passing of Dean Smith happened yesterday, and I think that phrase I think is very true for him. A lot of people like to use the word gentleman. It's like, really, you don't want to speak ill of the dead, but really, but in this case here, I think that really holds true. I mean, it's hard to find anyone to say really an ill word about Dean Smith. He's always respectful of his competitors, respectful to his players. I love the fact he always supported his players. It didn't matter if they're coming out early. If not, you never kind of dogged them or anything. In this case, I ain't naming names of any other coaches in this case here, but we know who we're talking about.
Yeah, I mean, definitely. I mean, 2 national championships, and I think, like, one of the things that's, just going back to the type of person that he was off the court, you look at the relationship that he kept with all of his players years after they've been in the league.
Exactly.
From Jordan to Perkins to, you look at Stackhouse to Vince, Rick Fox. Mm-hmm. You look at all these guys.
Ford, you name it, yeah.
Exactly. I mean, for someone to, still maintain those types of relationships and bonds years after they played for you, mm-hmm. I think that speaks a lot to the character of who he was as a person.
And I think the other thing too, as a coach, sometimes he brought a lot of different things in the game that people do nowadays, just see it as is. Obviously the four corners was kind of, North Carolina was like the killer of the four corners, which made you had to change the rules. So it shows he was an innovator in that sense. He just killed and took the air out the ball. Not the best thing, but effective nonetheless. But once he put the shot clock in place, he adjusted the game as well too in this case. And I think one of the things he was a master at was lengthening the game, which everyone does nowadays. But back then, man, he would squeeze out that minute like no one's business, guy. Timeout, boom, stop clock, foul, and you just be sitting here working, working out how many possessions he could get with that minute. That now seems to be that's old school. Everyone does it now. But at that time, it was kind of like, revolutionary for him.
But definitely, that was, it was innovative clock management back then.
Right, exactly. And I think some of those things like that. And then I think the last point we make about is that even though he was a tactician, he was very much team ball. And, everyone makes a joke about he's the only person to keep Jordan, in this case, under 20 points, whatever that joke is. But I think what you saw, even within his own system, he allowed players to still show their own talents and individuality.
Exactly.
And I think he was able to create a system that when guys went in the league, listen, everyone can tell you, any GM can tell you, to some extent today, but definitely through the Dean Smith years, you got a player for North Carolina, you were set. You had your job set for at least another 2-3 years as a GM. You didn't have to worry about nothing.
Exactly.
You knew you were going to have a guy that could play for you. There was no doubts about anyone flopping and killing your franchise for 5 years when you picked a Tar Heel player. Okay, you're either going to get yourself a superstar, or at worst, you get yourself a really good player.
Yeah, exactly. You're getting a superstar, or you're getting a quality guy.
Right.
A quality
Right.
role, solid
Right.
contributor.
Yeah, I mean, everyone make jokes. Even a guy at Montrose played 10 years in the league before he had injuries, right? And like Montrose was a talented player in college. He got numbers, but you never saw him as being any impact player in the league. But still, when he went in the league, he's no fool. He can play. Like, you know what I'm saying?
I think was it in it's either the mid 90s or late 90s. There was a poll that was done and of teams in the league and how many of them had a Carolina player on the roster. And it was amazing because I would say close to half the teams
I think
they probably had a Carolina guy on the roster at the time.
And I think that there is showing, I think, from a basketball standpoint, just shows how respectful people were of him and how he can groom talent. Because as I said before, every GM knew if they picked a Tar Heel player, they could keep their job for another year, and they were straight. So I mean, Godspeed to Dean Smith and to his family, rest in peace. Heck, when they name a dang stadium after you, man, you know you're big. It's like, there's nothing else to say about it. So,
once you got the stadium,
you know what I'm saying? When you're naming the stadium after you, you know you're big, man. So on that note, man, where can the good folks find you, Ravi?
At Mr. Ravi _Por Vida.
And you can find me as usual at Beyond Locker Room, short form RM, folks. And now with football season in the rearview mirror, everybody in the sports world focus is going to be coming to us, Ravi. So you know where to come to in this case when you want your hoops action.
Hey, we got to up the budget. We got to get hair and makeup up in here now.
No doubt, it's about to get big up in here. It's about to get big up in here. All right, people, take care. We'll talk to you next week.
Peace.